We begin with breaking news. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says he will ask 10 US diplomats to leave as his country responds in kind for US expulsions and sanctions against the Kremlin. And he says Russia is looking at painful measures aimed at US businesses. President Joe Biden announced an array of sanctions on Thursday for what he says is Russia's election meddling and cyber attacks. Let's go live to our correspondent, Bernard Smith in Moscow. Bernard, this very much a case of tit for tat. Talk us through in more detail what Russia has announced today.
Yes, we're just getting some more clarity on what Sergei Lavrov said in the last half hour or so, as well as expelling 10 US diplomats. They're also going to sanction 8 US administration officials. Their names will be revealed later. That sort of matches the individuals that the US, the number of individuals sanctioned by the US. Russia also says it's going to close US foundations and NGOs because they are interfering in Russian affairs. We haven't been given the names as yet of the foundations and NGOs specifically that Russia is referring to. They're going to stop the US hiring Russians and other third country nationals from working in its missions here in Moscow. That is because Russia says in our missions in the US, we only hire Russians. Now, for the US here, that could affect everything from drivers and cleaners to analysts and other individuals who maybe work in the US diplomatic missions here in Russia. So that could make life particularly difficult for the Americans here. And they've also threatened to go a bit further. Lavrov said that there are 450 people working in the US missions in Russia and 450 Russians in the US. But 150 of those, Lavrov says, work in the UN mission. So he says if the US goes further in sanctions against Russia, we will ask the US to take another 150 people out. And lastly, Lavrov suggested that the US ambassador here, John Sullivan, should go back to the US for consultations. This is not expelling the US ambassador, but it's suggesting he go back to the US to discuss with his superiors what's happening. That is because Lavrov says their ambassador to Washington, D.C. is currently here in Moscow.
OK, many thanks for that, Bernard Smith, talking to us there in Moscow.